Good afternoon, everyone. Please continue to enjoy your lunch as we proceed with our agenda and our keynote speaker. My name is Cuevas, and I'm the director of the Continuing Legal Education Program. I've been with the DC Bar for over 3 years now. Prior to the bar, I spent more than 16 years as the Consumer Protection Project Director and Chief Counsel at the National Association of Attorneys General. NAG is the Professional Association of State Attorneys General, and during my time at NAG, I had the privilege of working very closely with numerous state attorneys general. It is my distinct honor to introduce Attorney General Karl Racine. General Racine was sworn in as the District of Columbia's first elected Attorney General on January 2nd, 2015. As the district's top lawyer, General Racine works to keep residents safe from crime and fraud and uses the law to advance the public interest. He also protects taxpayers by providing legal advice and representation to the mayor and district government agencies. He's had a long and distinguished career. Attorney General Racine draws on over 25 years of legal and leadership experience. Over the course of his career, he worked at the DC Public Defender Service, where he represented district residents who could not afford a lawyer. He also served as Associate White House Counsel under President Bill Clinton, and worked on criminal cases and complex civil litigation at private firms. While in private practice, he was elected managing partner of his firm, Venable, and became the first African-American managing partner of a top 100 American law firm. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome DC Attorney General Karl Racine.
Thanks so much for that kind, excuse me. Thanks so much for the very kind and warm introduction. I got to tell you, I am impressed at the turnout and the level of interest, and I've certainly looked over the materials. They are informative and timely and rigorous, so that obviously merits a shout out to both Darren Sobin and Bob Spagnoletti, and the entire DC Bar and staff for organizing this fantastic event. My name is Karl Racine, and I'm happy to serve as the city's first elected and independent Attorney General. For those of you who are DC residents, I must point out, as my campaign manager would say, that I am running again. So there is a November primary. That's that first Tuesday in November. Would urge everyone to come out and vote, not only for this elected office, the AG spot, but for all of the other offices. Voting is so incredibly important, of course, nationally and also locally. I have to bemoan the fact that in the June primary, only 18% of eligible DC voters came out to vote, and in two wards, Wards 7 and 8, there were less than 10% of eligible voters, respectively, in those wards who came out to vote. And so it's incredibly important to be reminded of how important that vote is. That vote really impacts resources and how resources are allocated in our city. Let me just ask a question about that. The District of Columbia budget for the fiscal year 2019 is how much? Anybody want to raise their hand and take a guess? It's in the billions, I'll give you that. $2 billion from an enterprising guesser over there. Another guess? Higher or lower? Somebody can tell me that. Higher. $14.5 billion. And so your vote really determines how that money is allocated to a range of priorities that of course include taking care of our seniors, the reason why we're here. So first message, please go out and vote and encourage other people, particularly in wards that do not turn out well, to go out and vote as well. Certainly, a part of our responsibility at the Office of Attorney General is to really focus on the city's most vulnerable community. And what we see more and more and every day, certainly at the Office of Attorney General, is that more than 160 district residents, including me, are over the age of 50, with nearly 75,000 district residents over the age of 65. And we know from the demographic models that those numbers are increasing literally every day. There are over 7,000 district seniors age 65 and over, and yes, sadly, too many of them are experiencing abuse, neglect, and exploitation. Let me give you some statistics from the Adult Protection Services. These statistics are a bit dated, but I think they speak well of a trend that, frankly, we shouldn't be proud of. So the APS's most recent comprehensive report was for the year that passed, 2016. In that year, APS opened 1,485 investigations where the care and well-feeding and well-being, I should say, of seniors was called into question. That nearly 1,500 number of investigations was a significant increase over the 921 investigations that took place in the prior year, 2015. So that is a dramatic, almost 38% increase in investigations. I can tell you that over 60% of that nearly 1,500 number involved adults over the age of 60. During that time frame, the APS referred 68 matters to the Office of Attorney General. Happy to report that 60 of those 68 matters turned into guardianship or conservatorship cases. 8 of those 68 matters were not brought due to evidentiary infirmities. So those cases were not processed going forward. Why are seniors more vulnerable to exploitation? Generally speaking, there are 4 real reasons why. First, seniors are more likely to have health and, yes, mental health issues that can impair their judgments and make them more susceptible to being taken advantage of. And yes, it sometimes occurs at the hands of people who they really are supposed to be able to trust the most: family members, friends, and caretakers. For example, studies show that about 21% of seniors have visual impairments. About 45% of seniors have hearing impairments. Those physical impairments often contribute to the vulnerability that seniors confront. Second, seniors are more likely to experience cognitive decline, which of course necessarily impairs their ability to make important decisions sometimes that really impact their health and certainly their financial well-being. One AARP recent study found that seniors were more likely to lack the skills they need in order to make important decisions around their own health care decisions. This same study found that persons over 80 years old were 4 times more likely to make significant errors in regards to decisions around their health care. Third, seniors are more vulnerable because they have fewer people looking out for them. As we know, just from going around the community here at the Office of Attorney General through our Community Engagement Office, Social isolation, loneliness is a huge factor in the lives of seniors. And with that isolation and loneliness is, of course, again, heightened risk of being taken advantage of. Finally, the reason why seniors are such a target of fraudsters is because overwhelmingly the senior citizens have lived full lives, honorable lives, saved their money, are getting retirement or Social Security, and therefore it is in fact their bank accounts, the fact that they have some financial wherewithal, which makes them the target of fraudsters and others who take advantage of them. We at the Office of Attorney General come into contact with seniors in a number of ways. The Office of Attorney General plays a role in monitoring the work of nursing and assisted living facilities. We're in constant contact with the ombudsperson and are always ready to respond to concerns that they may have. We also play a role in our consumer protection work in regards to educating consumers, of course, but also bringing fraudsters to account. And there is no doubt that fraudsters, particularly those who use the telephone to coax seniors out of money, as well as the internet, are extremely and sadly well organized to continue to perpetuate fraud on seniors. So it's incredibly important from where all of you sit and where you work. I know there are members of the judiciary here as well, to be active in communicating to seniors that there are resources, including resources at the Office of Attorney General, at their disposal in order to educate them and, yes, protect them. In the Office of Attorney General, and if I can have my colleagues just raise their hand here who are represented, there you go. Fernando, Sarah Connell, well, awesome, I didn't see. So we've got a lot of folks here. Please feel free, to reach out and get the cards from the OAG people. Put your hands up again, okay? Because folks here represent the various offices at the Office of Attorney General that are really engaged in protecting seniors. That's from our domestic violence section, where we do the guardianship and conservatorship work, as well as from our Office of Consumer Protection and our civil enforcement section. And I want to tell you that elder care is a new announced priority of the Office of Attorney General. We've been working really hard. I don't know whether Carolyn Nichols is here. Carolyn Nichols, of course, is the daughter of former council member Hilda Mason. And council member Mason was, of course, very sadly the victim of financial exploitation. And Carolyn Nichols, to her credit, has been dogged and tenacious in regards to advocacy for laws that would better protect seniors. She was the mainstay and the force behind recent legislation that granted the Office of Attorney General greater powers to protect seniors from financial exploitation, and indeed has led to the Office of Attorney General getting more resources to hire lawyers and investigators to do that work. Ms. Nichols' work is an example of the opportunity that we all have as residents of the District of Columbia to really grab onto an issue and press it forward and see it manifested in laws and new resources that will no doubt help us bring more cases. Have a couple of announcements to make in this regard. I just left the office of the United States Attorney's Office this morning, where we have had a wonderful dialogue for a few months with the U.S. Attorney Jesse Liu, who has been nothing short of a active partner with us. Jesse Liu has agreed to allow one of our lawyers at the Office of Attorney General to be seconded over to the U.S. Attorney's Office so that our lawyer can become a Special Assistant United States Attorney. They call them SASAs. I wondered about that name because I'm not a dancer, but they are Special Assistant United States Attorneys. And so our SASA will be able to prosecute criminally cases involving seniors. So we're really, really grateful to Jesse Liu for partnering with us and allowing us to bring those cases. The reason why we needed the partnership is because the United States Attorney's Office, as many of you know, has the principal jurisdiction for prosecution of adults in the D.C., in the District of Columbia. So in order for us to prosecute criminally senior cases, we'd have to be over there. And so we found a way to allow us to do just that. And Jesse Liu told me today that she is also going to devote additional resources to make sure that there's more than one prosecutor who's actively prosecuting cases. And of course, prosecuting criminal cases is incredibly important for the deterrent impact that would have on those who would commit crime in regards to seniors. I mentioned the new financial exploitation law that was passed in the council. Committee Chairman Anita Bonds has been a force in the area of protecting seniors. That law enhances the penalty that we can seek in regards to folks who violate either consumer protection law, where seniors are at prey, or other laws where seniors are at prey, to allow us to seek fines up to $5,000 for each single act. That's a significant fine, and I can tell you that we've organized our office in a way to bring those cases. I've mentioned cases coming out of the civil division from the civil enforcement section. We met a few months ago about really generating cases, going out more aggressively and collaboratively and meeting with the adult protective services, going out in the community and letting the community know that we're interested in hearing about instances where seniors may have been victimized. I'm happy to report that in a recent meeting that we had with the various sections in the office that are looking at senior abuse, that we have a very, very good pipeline of cases already generated. And again, just a couple of months of working together. And I have to tell you that the cases are consistent for their sadness. Cases involving, for example, a 91-year-old patient at a nursing home who is having her credit card taken without her permission and charged by people who work at that institution. Other cases where rental monies are being taken, again, by folks who are obligated by law to take care of seniors, not to take advantage of seniors. We also have a couple of other significant matters that we're investigating that relate to homes that seniors own, and people, again, within the orbit of trust who sadly are persuading seniors to sign over powers of attorney to go with those seniors to banks and to begin the process of selling real estate property that seniors own. But I want you to know that there certainly is a new and bolstered cop on the beat at the Office of Attorney General, and we're eager to enforce the law in this regard. I really want to leave you with an invitation of partnership, because the reality is that there is a great hindrance in folks bringing cases to us. All of these types of cases that we've discussed involve a lot of shame. And they might involve, as we discussed, some level of cognitive deficiency. People may not even know that they're being taken advantage of. But it's incredibly important for us to assure seniors that caring people with authority will support them and will see that justice is served. I want to talk just a little bit about an area, that is a little personal, to many of us and certainly to me. And that is that as seniors age, of course, we're more susceptible to getting sick, and we can get sick in a big way immediately without any warning. My mother, for example, had a big stroke last September, almost a year ago today. We had to navigate that course of emergency treatment, then ICU treatment, then rehabilitation services, then nursing skill services. How many people either have gone through that with a family member or a loved one or someone they know? Yeah. And you know how difficult that is, because normally what you have is you have a senior who is, in the case of my mom, not able to really make decisions for herself. So she had my sister and I as the primary decision makers and caretakers, really focused on primarily making sure that she was able to get every benefit that she was entitled to pursuant to her insurance. And I'm not here to take pot shots at insurance companies per se. But I got to say that in the course of about 11 months, Mom is back home now. She's been back home, thankfully, for 3 weeks now. But in the course of this entire process, my sister and I went through 16 appeals. Now, I'm the Attorney General. I didn't write in AG Racine. There may not have been a need for the appeals. I don't know. But there was a humbling experience, and certainly an informative experience to have gone through that. As it turns out, my sister is a non-lawyer, and so a much clearer thinker, and a person who could easily get to the fact that, hey, this is covered, as opposed to, I'm not so sure because of this and that provision. But think about it, the idea that we had to actually appeal on 16 times. By the way, we were 16-0. In order to get not a benefit that we were not entitled to, but a benefit that we were totally entitled to under the provision, really tells you a lot about the ordeal that people who are not as well resourced as my sister and I, not as well trained as my sister and I had to go through. And so, I certainly know, and the hands that were raised made clear that this was not an anomaly. And so rest assured that the Office of Attorney General will be active in the area of ensuring that folks are supported in the process of getting the treatment and care that is called for clearly under the various policies. I do want to share with you one thing that I think my sister and I learned from this, and perhaps many of you are way ahead of me. Shame on you for not telling me earlier. And that is that we both read a tremendous book that I would commend to all of you. And that book was written by a doctor, Atwal Gawande, and the book is called Being Mortal. Being Mortal is Being Mortal is the book, B-E-I-N-G, and Mortal, M-O-R-T-A-L. If you look the book up, you'll see the author, but his first name is spelled A-T-W-A-L. Last name is G-U-W-A-N-D-E. And what he writes about in a non-lawyerly and non-doctorly way, beautiful prose, is the realities of aging in America and the reality of the healthcare system in America. And the lessons there really talk about how important it is for each of us to speak honestly and courageously with our loved ones about how we might want to be taken care of in circumstances when we can't speak for ourselves. It's an incredibly worthy book, and my guess is that if we all follow some of the tenets and the lessons of the book, not only will we be comforted in difficult times ourselves or when we have loved ones and friends who are going through those times, but we'll be better armed to make the kind of decisions, incredibly difficult decisions, that will fall upon us to make. So with that, I want to say thank you very much for giving the Office of Attorney General an opportunity to speak before you. Know that you have a friend, more than one friend. You saw the hands go up again? OAG, put them up. In the office who are really arrayed to help seniors. And do not hesitate to call on us if we can be of assistance. Thank you very much, everyone.